All right, this is a lesson from the Honors Purple Book, Chapter 1, Lesson 2, over powers. Just to review, we have powers which are involved with the base and an exponent. So if you look, here's a power. This is the base, -4, to an exponent 4. This would be the problem, -4 times itself 4 times. -4 times -4 times -4 times -4. Base of 2, exponent of 6. So this power is 2 to the 6th power. That's the base 2 times itself 6 times. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. All right, so let me do a couple problems here. The instructions off guided practice on page 18 state on this first section they want us to write it using exponents. So this would be -11 to the 1, 2, 3 power. They're using this as a factor 3 times. So I would write that as -11 to the 3rd power. Now be careful with the way you write those down because I want to show you another example. Here's one that has -3 to the 4th power. Some people will just write it like this. That's an incorrect notation because when you look at this, this is the opposite of 3 to the 4th. So this power would not actually be touching that negative, so it's not going to that negative. This would just be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which is 81, and then the opposite of 81 is -81. So the way to write this would be -3 to the 4th power. You're going to hear me as I go through several more lessons talk about the problem with exponents is people overexert them or underexert them. So if I would have not had these parentheses around this one, I would have been underexerting that power, thinking that it only went to the 3, but it actually went to the negative part of that -3. All right, so let's go back to this one. We're going to write this one. I have 2 used as a factor 3 times, so that would be 2 to the 3rd power, and then I have 3 used 3 times, so that's 2 to the 3rd times 3 to the 3rd. Remember, 3rd power can be read as cubed, so that would be -11 cubed. That would be 2 to the 2 cubed times 3 cubed. Next one, we could take and look at how many r's we have as a factor. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 r's, so I'll write that as r to the 5th power times s to the 1, 2, 3. r to the 5th times s to the 3rd. All right, so number 4, 2 to the 6th power. Now they actually want us to evaluate. Evaluate means give me the value of or find the actual answer. So it's the one time you're going to see it, so I'm going to show it on my fingers because I want you to see this as well. 2 to the 6th power, I'm going to multiply that. Now watch the way I count that, 2 times 2. Some people mess up right there and they think when they take in 2 times 2, they've only used it as a factor once. But they've used it twice. So let me redo that. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, times 1 more 2 is 64. So 2 to the 6th power is 64. All right, the next one, -4 to the 4th power. First of all, is the negative going to the power? Yes. So then a negative times a negative times a negative times a negative. That's another time you see it. Negative times a negative times a negative times a negative. That's 4 negatives. That's, if you look at that, they pair up. We have an even number of negatives multiplied together, so it's going to be positive. So I'm just doing 4 to the 4th power. 4 times 4 is 16. Times 4 is 64. Times 4 is 256. Now I go on to number 6, which is 1/3 to the 7th power. You can take that as 1 to the 3rd over 7 to the 3rd, or you could take it as 1/7 times 1/7 times 1/7. And so if you did that, you would get 1 over 343. All right, number 7 says the table shows the average weights of some endangered mammals. What is the weight of each animal? Okay, just remember that when you're doing this problem, you still go in order of operations, so you would want to do the exponent before you multiplied. 5 squared. Many of my students put 10 right here, but 5 squared is 5 times 5, so 25. 25 times 2 is 50, and 50 times 7 is 350. Over here, once again, exponent first. 5 squared is 25, times 3 is 75. 2 to the 3rd, that's 2 times 2 times 2, or 8. 8 times, I'm going to do this in a little bit different order, 8 times 5, that's called the commutative property, right? 8 times 5 is 40, times 3 is 120 pounds. Same thing with number 8 and number 9. As you do those problems, make sure you're going in order of operation, where x is 2 and y is 10. X is 2, y is 10. So 2 squared is 2 times itself. That's 4. Plus 10 to the 4th power. That's 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000, times 10 is 10,000. So I add 10,000 to 4, and I get 10,004. Next one, order of operations says I'm going to do my grouping symbol first. Inside my grouping symbol, I'm going to look for grouping symbols. Then I'm going to move on to exponents. So x squared, remember x was 2. So 2 squared, 2 times itself is 4. Plus 10. 4 plus 10 is 14. And finally, I have 14 cubed, or 14 times 14 times 14. Well, 14 times 14 is 196. Times 14 is 2,744. And there you have the guided practice from lesson 2 of chapter 1. Once again, a little bit of work on powers and exponents, how to read them, how to not overexert or underexert them, and how to use them in order of operation.